The haunting screams, the deep chanting, the chilling grunts. What am I talking about? I'm talking about Bigfoot. Today we have author and adventurist Ron Morehead. He's also producer of the Serious Sounds, known for decades for his worldwide research into the Bigfoot Sasquatch phenomenon. With his years of collective body of evidence about this creature, the Sahara Sounds are the only Bigfoot recordings to have been scientifically studied, time-tested, and accredited as genuine. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about his book. We're going to hear some haunting sounds right here today on Truth Be Told. I'm Tony Sweet with Truth Be Told. Please welcome to the Truth Be Told studios, author, adventurist, Ron Morehead.
This is Truth Be Told.
That not only are there reptilians here,
new evidence of UFO fleets.
We were close to nuclear war.
To help you transform so that you can live your highest truth.
We're not being told just because we're not ready for it.
Radio stations of frequency, vibrational.
I was a homicide detective with LAPD.
UFOs increase. Visitations. Hello, Ron.
Hi, Tony. How are you today?
I am amazing. Thank you. It's exciting to have you here. And like you said, we have a common interest. You have a little bit more experience than I do. I just talk about Bigfoot and you go out in the field and look for Bigfoot. So, but thank you for being here with us today.
Well, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Well, first of all, for some people that may not know who you are or, your background, as in UFOs, a lot of people that get interested in UFOs, a lot of, or ghost spirits, they've had experiences. They've had their opportunity to have an encounter of some sort. Did your interest in Bigfoot, Sasquatch, start with an encounter?
Yes, it did.
Could you tell us about that?
I certainly will. This happened in 1971. I was involved with a group of hunters, and they'd encountered some kind of monster. They didn't know what it was. They wasn't out looking for Bigfoot. Is at a hunting camp about 8 miles in the wilderness, 8,400 feet elevation, the Sierra Nevada mountains of California. So that's why we call it the Sierra Sounds. And anyway, started going back up and took tape recorders, and I got invited in because I wasn't really a hunter at the time, but they come out with that story and I was friends with them all, and one of the guys got freaked out and wouldn't go back, so I said, I'll go back if you'll go back with me, because the guys were all worried. They hadn't heard from them. There was a day late coming out. So anyway, I got involved that way. So we started taking little tape recorders up there, little cassette recorders, and recorded these things as sounds. And we knew they were chattering amongst themselves, similar to the Albert Osman incident in Toba Inlet in 1924, which is account by John Green. And but really, I didn't know how significant that was at the time. None of us did, other than they were talking using some type of a language, we thought. But what we think doesn't matter. It's what you can establish, So it wasn't until winter of 1972 when the leader of our group got a hold of Alan Berry, who was a reporter, investigative reporter. He got word through Ivan Sanderson, and Ivan Sanderson sent the message to Peter Byrne, who was up in Oregon at the time, and he sent it down to Alan. Alan came down and interviewed us. Anyway, we took him in 1972. He encountered the same thing and kept trying to find the hoax. They were all thinking it was a hoax to start with, because if you even see Sasquatch twice in your lifetime, it's like getting hit by lightning twice.
Right.
It just don't happen. So it was a pretty incredible account, and it's hard for anyone to believe. And it stood its time test now for over 50 years, and we had a full-blown study. Alan Berry recorded them too, and he fostered the studies at the University of Wyoming, show that they were not fabricated. They were made at the time of recording. They were not speeded up or slowed down. They were authentic. There was no 60-cycle hum, which we showed pre-recording. Professor of electrical engineers studied them for a whole year, gave his report in Canada in 1978, I think it was, Anthropology of the Unknown, British Columbia. And anyway, that's how it got started. And since then, we've had cryptolinguist Scott Nelson found it by accident and got a hold of him, came out and interviewed me and another guy and found the context of the sounds and asked if he could study them. And we took him to him, and he's trained by the military as a cryptolinguist to study codes and sounds to see if they're authentic or not, or if it is a language, or if it's just a code. And if it is a language, is there any kind of maliciousness in it? So he attested that they were genuine, that they were not manipulated, as we already knew, but from Professor Curlin. But Scott also said he's a cryptolinguist, so he said there's a language in here. And again, I didn't realize how significant that was until I got hold of Dr. Lieberman at Brown University, and he's no only humans have the vocal mechanism for language, so that kind of puts it in a ballpark of a hominid or a hybrid of some type or something with a human component to them. Or we have a Bigfoot component to us. I'm not sure which way it's going to go. But
Right.
Anyway, it's been an adventure. I've been on this now. I've been around the world with it, and in South America and Nepal and to Russia, Moscow, Siberia. And just studying this for 50 some odd years now, and I've collected quite a bit of evidence that supports my theories on it. And it's called the Sierra Sounds, and I sell them now.
Well,
to those who want to hear them.
Well, let me ask you this. Again, UFOs, I compared them to these encounters because, they are supernatural in a lot of ways. They're considered paranormal because not everyone gets to experience this. But a lot of people that have been abducted, have had ghost encounters. Especially the UFOs, abductions, a lot of times it's passed down through generations of the same family. Because not everybody that goes out to the woods ever sees a Bigfoot or ever encounters UFOs. But a lot of times the same people get to encounter them not only once, but maybe twice, 3 times, 4 times. Why do you feel that people like such as yourself get to encounter these creatures or species more than once?
I don't know. I mean, I really don't know whether they tag onto you because of your frequency.
Maybe, yeah.
We all have our frequency, personal vibrational frequency, and maybe they see something there that they want to interact with. But they interacted with us a lot up there, all the way from 71 through 76 up close. And after that, they kind of got away.
Keep their distance.
They're still there, but something's weird still there anyway, because it's led me into a whole other realm of what explains the anomalies associated with them.
Right.
And those anomalies are, I've seen a UFO up there once too, and same time the Bigfoot stuff was going on, and just it's weird stuff. I mean, things that you can't explain through classical science, and can do things to you that you don't understand, and they can hypnotize you and make you think you're hearing something, or you hear something that's really out there and can't explain it. I've heard woozing sound. I've heard it sound like our camp was being tore apart one time. We were in this shelter. And anyway, we thought it was being tore apart because we'd haul all this stuff in on mules and horses and strap their barrels to the tree. And we looked out there later and nothing had changed.
Wow, so they use some kind of telepathy to use your own...
Or we're hearing into another timeline or something. Who knows?
Well, we've talked about this before, how, is Bigfoot or Sasquatch or abominable snowman, whichever you want to use, as another alien species, and that could explain why they can disappear so easily or, stay away from being spotted as much or, seen as much. What are your thoughts on that?
I think they probably are. Of course, I think there's a lot of different type of aliens out there too that
there's
been on this planet, and they've manipulated the genome of different species on this planet. Right. So I think there's different types of Bigfoots out there. I call them Bigfoots, plural, I guess, because they're reported all over the world, And so I think that they've done that. They probably got attributes that we don't understand. Of course, we're hybrids too. Something made us the way we are, and whatever made them, probably they understand quantum physics a little bit more than most people want to understand. We were thinking about it just a while creature and monster in the woods, up there at the time. But after a while, you realize there's just so much more going on with them. You can't trick them. You try to trick them. We tried to get pictures. We tried everything we could. They let us capture their sounds, but that's all. But yeah, they can change their well, according to Dr. Paul Dirac, and got the Nobel Prize in 1933 for antimatter. That's a direct change from matter to energy, energy to matter, and they're exchangeable. Einstein went on with that too. So if you can find the frequency of anything, you can change its matter. So can they disappear? Sure. We only see within certain light frequencies, so I think they were probably are able to do that. At least what we were dealing with could, because we should have seen them more often as much as we was hearing them as close as they were to us. We only seen I got a glimpse of one once, and my daughter saw them 3 times though up there, and other guys get glimpses here and there. But they're pretty elusive. They're very fast. They're very something we aren't. But they got it down. You're in their woods, so.
Yeah, I always wondered if, like, on Star Wars ever used Bigfoot as Chewbacca's kind of model, because that reminds me of Bigfoot. So
that's the word I've heard that he did. Yeah. I don't know if that's true, and I never talked to him personally.
That would be interesting to ask George Lucas or one of these that created it to see if that was their inspiration. Well, when we talk about the language, when people discovered the hieroglyphics of the ancient Egypt, many people probably didn't know how to decipher it. It just looked like pictures or markings. How does one interpret the language of Bigfoot? Because it is a lot of grunts, groans, and some, so how does one describe the language, and how do you interpret it?
Well, you don't interpret it, you transcribe it. That's what happened with the cryptolinguist. He transcribed it as a language, which that's what he's trained to do. You don't know what the interpretation is until one comes out and points to a tree and says, "Ooga ooga, there's a tree."
Right.
You don't know what the word means for tree to them. But they do have a vocal range that's within ours, way above ours. According to Professor Curlin at the University of Wyoming, it represented an animal over 8 foot tall. The little clip that he studied on that one part of the sounds, and just been an amazing adventure for me. Scott Nelson, the cryptolinguist, who could be on with me one of these times for long too, and he describes how he transcribed the language. He has to slow it down because they speak very rapidly.
Right.
It's also according to the account that John Green gave of Albert Osman in Canada. So as far as the chattering goes, that's what they do. They chatter. It sounds like just a rapid chatter. Sometimes you'll think you'll hear, I've heard these reports over the years too, where people heard their dog name being called and their dog's not with them. They'll hear different names being called, which are associated with where they are at all. And they'll hear chattering, and yet they don't see it necessarily, but they hear it. And so it's an interesting topic what we're talking about right now. These things are here on this planet with us. When I speak at these conventions, I don't try to convince people that Bigfoot's there. I just show the facts, what I've got, and where it's led me, and let them take it from there. Everybody has a choice what they want to believe. But I know they're out there, and what they're for is what I get into in my books.
Well, I thought maybe we would play at least a couple clips, and I'm going to play, it's called Samurai, so let me go ahead and play that clip real quick. So what is the samurai? I mean, when it's titled that, what does that mean, and what were they?
Let me say this: what I just heard was not the clip that I call samurai. It was a scream that we had when I saw one night. He was running down from behind me, down to we think 2 others, an adolescent and a female. And actually, Matt Moneymaker from the BFRO.org coined that in 1995, just before he started the BFRO. And he said, that sounds like a samurai cry, because it's got an ancient, kind of an oriental lean to it, but that's not what we just played. So somehow we got those mixed up a little bit.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, because if you listen to like apes or monkeys, or they make their own sounds, and people that do work around these animals this long, they do get to know their language, like you said, just watching their expressions, hearing the grunts, body language. Have you ever had one get aggressive with you, or they kind of just go about their way when you're around?
Well, they sound like they're aggressive, especially when you first encountered them.
That would scare the hell out of me if I heard that.
It was 1974 when we got the samurai cry, and that's when they were really trying to communicate something, because that's when they started interacting with us when we're outside the shelter, which is really unusual. And then we just brought supplies in with the horses and mules, and they knew where we were coming from, and they got there before we did, actually. So they got a very high intuitive intelligence to them. We know this from my account of it, and I write about that in my book, Voices in the Wilderness, because we found evidence that they had gotten there before we did that night, and that's when they were yelling at me, asking me something. I don't know what it was, but the infection was a question type, and I don't know what they were saying. But according to Scott Nelson, he says that they actually slowed their vocalizations down. Same vocal mechanism made that sounds as made the ones the year before, but he says they slowed it down. He thinks trying to say something to me that I would understand, because my analytical mind doesn't let mind speak work so well.
Right.
People say, well, you ever had mind speak? And I said, well, I don't know. I always try to figure out what caused that, what. And, but they do seem to also, getting back to your other question, they seem to follow people too, that they, no matter where you are, because I believe that they have the vocal mechanism or some type of mechanism to change their frequency from matter into energy. That would show pixelization form instead of, because you don't see energy necessarily, you see matter. And that's been confirmed, by the way, by CERN in Switzerland, Hadron Collider, when they transferred matter into energy. They couldn't see it, but they could sense it. So people saying they see them disappear, I heard this for a long time, and I just kind of, well, okay, put it on the shelf. But no, they can disappear. There's a science behind it, and how that happens is through vibrational frequency. You find the frequency of anything, according to Einstein, you can change its matter. That's kind of interesting. So I think that's maybe how a lot of the miracles are done from the ancients. If they find the frequency of something, you change its matter, and that's scientific fact, quantum physics. Anyway, there's a lot going on here that we could get into at this hour sometimes. It's fun.
Well, you've heard, UFOs abducting people. Have you ever heard of Bigfoot abducting anyone, and then releasing them, and then the people experience or tell their experiences? Or like a lot of UFO encounters, abductions, they have this time slip or time loss, but no time was lost when they reawake. Have you heard of that before?
Well, not that specific one, but Albert Ostman is probably the first recorded incident of being abducted. He was held for 6 days by a family of 4 of them, according to his report to John Green, and that account is written in John Green's book, Apes Among Us. And he said they were chattering amongst themselves. They were picking fruit, foraging. In other words, they hauled him off. A male hauled him off.
Right.
He was a miner, and he got hauled off and held captive for 6 days before he was managed to escape. And he ran back and told his story and swore by it till his dying day. So that was probably the first account of someone being abducted by one and being held. But he didn't talk about any missing time. This was 1924. He wasn't interviewed till 1950s by John Green. So. But he was very detailed in everything about it. And
we hear a lot about the Northeast in the United States as kind of a hot spot. And like you said, though, you've heard and seen all over the world, encounters. In fact, years ago, my sister, I'm originally from Kansas, a really small town. They were out in the rivers clamming, where they would get these freshwater clams and sell it for they make them into medicine and all that stuff. And they said that they heard something in the woods, not forest, but woods. They thought it probably a deer. And so they walked up on the ridge, and they said they saw this real tall, hairy, upright, looked like a man running through the woods. So I'm not saying it was Bigfoot, but, people see them all over. Why? Well, first of all, why is the Northeast so much of a hot spot? And second, what are some of the spots that surprised you of the sightings?
Northeast surprised us that much, because Northwest is generally.
I'm sorry, Northeast, Northwest. I meant to say.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It's a wooded area. It's probably one of the last areas that we've inhabited, except for the Native Americans, and they've got stories that go way back about these giants being there. Northwest, California, Oregon, Washington, the whole area is just, that's where I'm from, and that's where we got our recordings, in California, in the high mountains, and there's been a lot of reports of them up in there. And, it's kind of unusual when I moved back east, and I am back east now, and to hear all the reports that are going on back here. I go to these meetings, and there's sometimes thousands of people there, wanting to hear about this stuff. And I play my sounds, and it's amazing how many people, because a lot of people are just coming out of the woods now, and they hear other people talking about it. So, okay, I'll talk about what I saw too, like your sister. She could talk about that in a little more detail maybe, and it might have been a Bigfoot. I mean, who else runs around that's all hairy? And
Right. There are some big hairy men around that area, or maybe even a few women, but no, just kidding. But probably not as big and tall as they said it was.
Yeah. Well, the Northeast is amazing. Here in Colorado, no, I'm in Carolinas now.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stuff going on here. I go back to California here in a couple of weeks for a conference, and I go to Fort Worth, Texas after that. There I have a lot of stuff there. And then I go to Montana after that. And then to Nashville, Tennessee. But Scott Nelson lives in Kansas City.
Oh, okay. Wow. So, I lived in Kansas City for several years, yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting, because he's really expert in languages, and two-time graduate of the Language Institute from the military, doing just what he does, just what he did for us. That's great.
Well, we in the intro or a lot of the bios, I've seen the Sahara Camp. What is that? Is that something that you started?
Yeah. Well, no, I didn't start it. That's the name of it, the Sahara Camp, because I wrote about it. It's in the Sierras, and it's a camp, and it's a hutch, really. I got pictures of that in that book, but it's a old camp. The Johnson brothers have been going there since 1958. So when they came out with the story and told us all about it, well, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, right.
They're no one to fool with. These guys are serious people, and they're serious hunters, and this was 1971. So really, we kind of kept all the strangeness to ourselves for a long time, because it's hard for people to swallow Bigfoot unless that's all the anomalies that go with it. So,
right.
But now I'm at the age where I just tell it the way it is, the way it was, and give my opinion on it, because I researched this stuff long enough to where I just want what I think I know to be right out there, and hope it helps somebody.
And so, what do you want people to know? Should humans be scared of Bigfoot, or do you think we can learn from Bigfoot?
I think we can do both. You should be cautiously scared.
Right.
There's different types. Like I said before, I was up in Port Locke, Alaska, on that Alaska Killer Bigfoot series that Discovery Channel put on here a couple of years ago, and they had some very aggressiveness going on with these huge animals that they refer to as a Bigfoot-like creature that killed about 30 villagers before they evacuated the village and just left.
Oh, wow.
And they really had me up there as a quote-unquote Bigfoot expert, which I don't know if there are any of those around or not, because we just don't know everything we need to know to be called experts. However, experts seem to know just a little bit more than a common person. I guess that would be me. And but yeah, they were aggressive, and I've heard of other reports where they were aggressive. I tell people just keep your flag up. You don't know if you're dealing with a good one or a bad one. Now, we obviously dealt with good ones, or we'd been eaten by now.
Right. Right.
But that's the one thing that really we were cautious about, because you don't know their intentions, you don't know their agenda. Why are they not interacting with more people all the time? But they're being seen in more and more and more all the time. I mean, thousands of reports are in about people seeing these things. And it's just a very active time right now to be living and to be talking about this stuff. I mean, you talk about UFOs. My gosh, you've done that a few years ago. You've been put in a funny farm.
Oh, now they even have a congressional hearings on it.
Yeah. Well, they're out there. They're here.
Yeah.
I mean, we got evidence of that. I've seen evidence of it in Peru and Bolivia. And you see the remains of some of these things, and they're not totally human, And so things have been coming here a lot longer than most people want to believe.
Right.
We tend to, as humans, live in a little bubble, and we don't really understand or want to grab a hold of things that don't fit in our paradigm or what we've been taught in classical science or classical ways. And I think we need to start questioning all that. I do. I have for a long time, and that's what's got me to know what I think I know. Because classical sciences will not answer anything outside the three-dimensional paradigm that it's made in. And we are in the several dimensions out there, and I think these things are able to change their frequency into from matter into energy, and able to get out of our visual range. And we only see within certain frequencies. We only see within certain terahertz in light. And that's 430 to 770 terahertz. And when you get out of that frequency, you don't see anymore.
Right.
Some animals can, but we don't. And we don't hear everything. We only hear with certain frequencies, and same with our smelling. Our olfactory sense is not what it should be. And I shouldn't say no, it should be, but it's not what other animals have. Like a bear is 20 times more than we are with their olfactory sense. So there's a lot going on. I think people just need to be aware of it all. That's why we're talking today, So because UFOs are going to inundate us probably next year or soon with their presence, and we're already being inundated into it with the media and with the stuff that's going on. So when they come down, we won't be shocked. Right now, right now the government only gives us what they think we can handle. They control the narrative all the time. So it's up to us to tell people what's really going on and what we think is going on, and not be led by the media. Because I've gotten where I just don't believe much of anything they say anymore. I just go by what I know.
Right. No, it's true. Yeah, we have to be vigilant on our own accounts, and just do what we can do to survive. And I would be surprised if anybody is shocked if an alien ship landed. I've asked some people, they're like, "Oh, I would be scared." I'm like, I just don't know how we would even be scared unless they came down and did like the Independence Day movie. Then I can understand being shocked. But I always said if they were going to take over the world, they should have taken over the world 100 years ago when we didn't have any weapons to even try to encounter them. So yeah, I just don't believe it's.
I think there's a cosmic war going on, because really we've got the Earth. This is humans.
Right.
We got dominion here. And they're not supposed to interfere with any of that. We have our own karma to live out, our own things to respond to. That's what life's all about, is responding to issues. Once you learn how to respond to them properly, well, then you're headed for another dimension. But we only change forms. Energy doesn't die, and that's what we are at the most minute level of existence, is energy. And I think these things, they want to help us, but they want to help us save ourselves, I think.
Right.
Of course, there are negative ones there. You got the reptilians, entities. You got the Greys. Of course, you know about all those, but do they really exist? Yes, I think so. In fact, there's a cave over in Vietnam that they've discovered in the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
it's a huge case because we're in the world that they've ever found. It's like an underground world. They've actually spotted reptilian type of hominid-looking beings. And one military outfit said they shot it several times, but just went back in, and then they don't think they killed it or they'd have found it. But I'm just saying that they just want to stay out of our domain right now. I say out, but they're not supposed to interfere with what we're supposed to end up doing. That's why I subscribe and I try to talk about peace, love, and compassion and stuff like that, because that's what the world needs to come to really progress and to make things right. The reptilian race is a small compared to all the other entities that are out there.
Right.
There's billions of them, uncountable.
And I have a feeling. I mean, you're the expert, but that even the Bigfoot race, just like bears. There's bears all over, but there are different types of bears. Monkeys and apes, and there's different types. So I'm sure there's different types of Bigfoots out there that have their own tribe and or whatever you call them. But I'm curious because we mentioned it before, Native Americans or even other people in Peru or South America, because South America, we got the Amazon, and I've heard, even in Amazon talking about Bigfoot type of creatures, Asia, China, all these different locations that have their own species over there. What? Bless you, by the way.
Almost did it.
Yeah, right. But have you ever sat down with Native Americans or natives of certain countries to talk about their ancestors' theories on the Bigfoot?
Yes. Yeah, many times as they let me.
Oh my God, that would be awesome.
I've been invited to sweat lodges to see what it's all about, but they teach them and talk about them like they're just another being out there that they live with. They have for centuries. And they think they're just a brother in the woods and leave them alone, let them do what they want to do, and we do what we want to do. So they also say they can disappear, that they are spirit beings who can disappear. They also say that they live in two worlds. Well, what does that mean?
Right. Right.
That means they can live in our three-dimensional world, or they can live in the other one, where time isn't existing like we see it.
Well, it seems like a lot of Native Americans that, they seem to be connected way more to the spirit world than we could ever think of. Did they ever talk about them communicating directly to them and talking about future? Because we hear about the flames of what is it, seven flames? 6 flames, something like that, but about the future of the world and humanity.
Yeah, I think we're on the brink of destroying ourselves. Start over again. It's like the Mayan calendar, but we got to watch it, because if somebody triggers the wrong bomb or something, we're a warring species. That's what humans are, and that's too bad. But we want to fight, and we got to get over that. We got to change that to show that we qualify for what we're supposed to be, which is made in the image of a very special entity, a high frequency energy. And I've gone into the cuneiform text from Upper Mesopotamia, and how it really began all the written languages that we used. And it's amazing what kind of information you get out of that when you get into the Anunnaki and what all was going on with in those days, and yet how it's been changed and deciphered differently throughout the ages. But Indians, Native Americans, I just made a faux pas there. Native Americans are very in tune to it, I think. I haven't met any that isn't, and I haven't met any that doesn't believe it. And they all just treat it like a thing that's out there, and their ancestors say, especially the Hopi, and you get down in there, and wow, they think there's a time coming where it won't be too long till we've it's going to tip the scales one way or the other.
Yeah.
Depends on if we can all get together and show love and compassion, start hurting somebody, help somebody.
Yeah, I interviewed the chief, or the great grandson of Chief Sitting Bull, and then also I've interviewed chief of the Anishinaabe tribe, then talking about the seven fires of prophecy. And so, but they did say, we talked about Bigfoot a little bit, but they did say we are at a crossroad of humanity has to make a choice on which road we take, and and so there's no turning back once we go down a certain
Well, Native Americans treat the things with respect. I mean, they always have, more so than us. We're the ones that's doing things, cutting up the property and
right, exactly,
cutting down trees and doing all kinds of things that they didn't used to do at all. All we do is come in and ramrod everything, and that's what we're noted for. And that's too bad.
Yeah, and we hear about the UFOs that have stopped missiles and disarmed nuclear reactors, and I'm sure Bigfoots have like to protect humanity. But after a while, there is a time where like a parent will say, listen, I can only do so much. They're going to have to learn from their own mistakes. And we'll either pick it up after they fall completely down, or, let them go to jail and learn their lesson. But,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I think my encounter was all about. There's been 4 of these previous thousands of years, 26,300 years, I think it is. Time things going on with this planet.
Yeah.
We're in the last one right now, and that's what I think the 2012 calendar was all about. That's just my opinion, but I never did fear that at all, because I think we're just been changed over into an area of enlightenment. So we're trying to enlighten people now with what we believe is truth, and let them make some good decisions about their life. And it's all about experiences and what we're here for, and how we graduate, and how we change our personal frequency and get higher and understanding more. And that's by getting your whole body coordinated all the way from the pineal gland to the heart and into the mind coherence.
Yeah. And, there's a lot of people that want to learn, a lot of people that want to experience. And what would be your advice that people say, I want to go up to the Northwest or Northeast, wherever, the Bigfoots, I want to go out in the woods and try to discover a nest or try to find a Bigfoot. First of all, what would be your advice to take?
I'd say good luck.
Right.
It's their terms and their time. If you don't have the right frequency in yourself, if you're out there with a gun or something, you're not going to see them. They read your aura, which I think is the energy we all give off. I think any animal could do that. My horse could do that. A horse will know when you're afraid of it or not, just from your energy. And but just I got a whole list of things that I tell people, and I got what to do, at least what worked for me and the other guys who was at this camp. And it's you can't make it happen. You just got to go somewhere where there's a hot spot and sit down and be still and just have fun and be yourself. And they won't interact with you. You'll hear a big thump or something somewhere, or you'll hear a big wood crack. It's not like some bear stepping on a limb. It's a big wham. And that's what you do. You wait till you hear that, and then still be still. Don't be aggressive after that. You got to just wait. And first thing you know, if I don't think they got your attention, I don't think you're going to shoot at them, they'll come a little closer. And they'll start, that's what they do with us. They start playing with you. And they do play with you, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, they think that we think we're smarter than them, see.
we always think we're superior over
we're
everything.
Top of this food chain around here. But
right.
We just got the privilege of being human, that's all. And they don't. So I don't think aliens are above us at all. I think we have the handle on all of it if we just do things right.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I would tell people just keep your flag up. Don't be unaware, but don't be afraid, because your biggest enemy is your fear.
Right. True.
You start fearing something, you're gonna not have it. That's gonna be your enemy, and that's inside of you. So you gotta learn how to control that, and that's hard because some people, first thing they do if something like that happens, they start running for the nearest whatever they can find to hide. And no, just relax. They're not going to hurt you unless they want to. I guess if you don't come back, if you get your arm tore off, you'll know they're aggressive.
Right. Well, what's going on nowadays with the Sahara Camp? Any future projects? I know you've written books, and even talk about the documentary you're putting together.
Yeah, there's a production company that's putting a documentary of the Sierra Camp together. It's more than a documentary. I think it's kind of my story of my book, Voices of Wilderness. And it should be good. They're trying to raise more money right now because they've already put a lot into it, and they're trying to raise money to make it even better. And this should have been done years ago, really, but it takes a lot of money to put something like this together.
Yeah.
And, so these people are trying to do it. Great people. I've been with them before, and they do good work, and they know what they're doing. So if people want to contribute to that, I think it's Indiegogo.
Indiegogo, yes.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's under.
That would help a lot to get this
Voices
finished.
in the Wilderness.
Yeah, and it's my story. And my story, actually, the book itself comes with a download of sounds, so you can hear the sound that I'm talking about, get the context of it when you hear it. But they're going to go through the whole gamut of what I went through going up there and what kind of encounters we had, and it should be really good. They're strong people, and they know what they're doing. Over the years, I've had several people try this, but again, they just can't get it all together. It takes a lot of money to do it. So yeah, and hopefully people will contribute. You can just go to Indiegogo, Voices in the Wilderness, and contribute to putting this life experience of working in the Bigfoot arena. And I can't wait to see it. I'd love to see from start to finish of what what your life has been like. Contributing to the cause, and it'd be great to get this completed. It would be great. I haven't seen it yet either. They've interviewed me a few months ago already. Well, they've interviewed me several times over the years, but this will be exhaustive. It'll be put together well and with a lot of documentation, and they're going to try to reach out to over not just the Bigfoot community, but the scientific community too, because really this has to be brought up. You got statements like Tesla says, what one man calls God and another calls quantum physics. Well, spirituality
right.
and quantum science are synonymous, in my opinion. And we all live in our three-dimensional bubble, and we got to understand there's so much more going on that we just don't know. But we're on the fringes of learning more about it. But just because of conversations like we're having today, helps people, I think, and helps. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, it's a good looking book. I designed that cover. Yeah, that's a great book. I love it. Almost looks like a tree stump, and then you're like, oh, that's Bigfoot sitting there. Well, it kind of depicts a scene in 1974 when my friend Bill and I was packing in supplies to the camp, and our horses and stuff got riled up, and we thought it was probably a bear or something, or a deer, whatever, out of the woods there, just spooked them, but thought now that, because we know on the trail, as we went down the trail, we saw a big print, a fresh print right across the trail there. So It might have been a Bigfoot. And you see a snake down there too, because we got snakes in that same spot. I'd be more scared of the snake than Bigfoot, because absolutely. I got a headband made out of a 52-inch rattler. I'm not a fan of the snakes. I'm not either. No, they remind me of reptilians, right? Yeah, right. I think yeah, they're the bad ones, by the way. I must have been one of the, what do they call them? The humanoids or something, because reptilian just
Yeah. Never liked them.
A lot of hybrids on this earth now, and I think a lot of them, hybrids from,
Well,
they look like humans.
yeah, they do.
Just like you and I, but
Yeah.
they're hybrids. And we're hybrids, Well, everything's a hybrid just about been made by
Well,
something.
Anunnaki, that's how we got here in the first place, they say. So,
Yeah. Anunnakis? Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's actually, I got a whole line about that, too. We can get into some other time.
We'll have to have you back and talk about that. So,
Yeah, it's fun. It's really fun. You reach back into history and see how things really unfolded and how things started and how they got to where they are now and how it all relates to our present time.
I would love to. That's I interviewed Mike Ricksecker about time travel. I was like, even if anything, you could just go back and even watch like it's on television, not necessarily be there, just to see what really happened. That would be
so fun, Tony.
Pretty cool. Yeah,
I've thought about that a lot myself.
I would love it.
Unfold. Watch how the volcano started up,
right,
all the way back. Yeah, I think the
it.
chocolate ice did evolve, just like Darwin says. I think there were cavemen here.
Yep.
Not much doubt about that. But something foreign, alien, interfered with the species.
Yeah.
And I think that's possibly how Bigfoot came about. At least there was several of them, different types, through alien intervention into the genome. So that's fun to think about how it could really happen and how time travel works too. Once they step out of this dimension, time, like as we perceive it day to day in this three-dimensional environment, doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
So they're not going to age like we age.
Right. Man, I wish I could do that. I'll take that dimension where I don't age as fast.
Because you're just going to change form someday. That's all we do. Our body dies, but we got the ethereal body, which is our spirit body, and that doesn't die.
This flop of skin here.
According to physics, you can't die.
Right.
Only your body dies.
Yeah, I actually I'm a big believer in the near death and afterlife, or not the soul ascending, because even my mother, before she passed away, talked about her mother, who she never even knew, because she left when my mom was a year old, coming to see her about a week before she passed away. Just greeting her and welcoming her to the other side. So,
oh, cool.
Yeah. I'm like, God, I hope that happens for me. I'm like, just, come visit.
Yeah. And you learn from your experiences, and of course, I believe in multiple embodiments. That's just.
Oh yeah, me too.
I just do, because I think if you haven't responded to everything properly, you do get another chance. You're going to come back at something else, so you'll have opportunities again to respond to things with love and caring, because we're getting all the chances we can possibly get just about, to do things right. And here we keep blowing it, Getting mad at this old lady that stops at the stoplight when she double dosed her medicine that morning or something.
Maybe you were a Bigfoot in a previous.
Who knows? I think the energy of humanoids are probably different.
Yeah, right. Well, Ron, thank you so much. You're a joy, and I appreciate you doing what you do. And hopefully, the Truth Be Told team and listeners and viewers will contribute to the documentary. Just go to Indiegogo and type in Voices in the Wilderness. I'm going to put the link in the bio. And here's the book. And I have to say it's a pleasure having you on, talking about our friend.
Well, thank you, Tony. It's an honor to be with you.
Of course, anytime. We'll go to ronmorehead.com, and you can check him out anywhere, and check out Sahara Camp. Hopefully, can people actually go visit the camp?
No, I don't tell people right where it's at.
Oh, okay.
We'll be inundated by.
Yeah, I don't blame
anomalies up there. David Pilates did a film with me up there. I took him into the camp.
Yeah.
First I've ever got a professional filmer up there, but I've known him for years. He's a writer of the 411 series.
He's probably smart.
Yeah, and he's a friend of mine, and I'm going to speak with him in Montana later this year in September, I think. Anyway, he's about the only one I've ever taken in there I took Joe Hauser in. He's a wildlife biologist at the time to inspect things at the request of a scientist. But I don't tell people where it's at, because if they know the exact location, they'd be inundated. Some strange stuff goes on in those mountains. And I don't think our camp is all that critical, other than I'm sure it's still got some secrets there. But there's, I think, if you got the right vibration, you just get out there in the right spot where they've had a lot of encounters. And there's a lot of wilderness around where I'm at right here, and a lot of people encounter them. A lot of reports.
Yeah.
I've spoken twice in North Carolina already this year, earlier, and I got a lot of people interested in this subject.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And like I said, we're going to play another clip while we go out. This is a back and forth. But thank you, Bigfoot. Thank you, Ron. And we appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you very much, Tony.
All right. Well, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to Truth Be Told, and hope you go support Ron, Indiegogo, and Voices in the Wilderness, and support him. And we thank you for supporting us every Friday right here on Truth Be Told. Monday on Robert Hensley doing the Minutemen Report. Bonnie Burkert on Wednesday at 3 o'clock with Truth Be Told Transformation. Of course, me every Friday. And until then, we'll see you soon. Take care of yourself, and have a good day. Bye. This has been another episode of Truth Be Told. Thank you so much for watching. Recorded live at UBN Go Studios in Burbank, California. Join us on social media. Facebook, Truth Be Told Radio. Instagram, Truth Be Told Paranormal. Go to Truth Be Told Worldwide for more information on upcoming shows. This has